Hey guys, how are you? Still awake? Everything's fine? Right, my name is Ditlev Bredahl, as Tom said, and I'm the CEO and founder of OnApp, and I've been in the industry for what seems like forever, since '96. This is probably I think John said 10th or 11th, I don't know how many I've done, but a lot of World Hosting Days, a lot of hosting cons, a lot of these conferences, and I've been in the industry since '96. I ran a company called UK2 for a number of years, and I sold that, and I sort of sneaked the software out of the back door when I did that and started OnApp, which was the software that we based UK2 on. I've done plenty of mergers and acquisitions in the past, and now the founder and CEO of OnApp. How many of you guys know OnApp? Can I just ask? All right, so I can probably skip through the OnApp part fairly fast. But anyway, don't be a stranger. This is my contact information, my direct LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Facebook is not there. My Skype is there. Would you believe that? And ping me afterwards if you got questions. I'm at the booth as well. But anyway, OnApp. So we started the company in 2010. We've been working on the base since 2008. I spun it out of UK2 when I sold that to Lloyd's. We're around 170 people or so. I've raised $25 million, and we've got offices all over the world. So what do we do? Well, this is what OnApp looks like. It looks pretty awesome, I feel. We do cloud, CDN, storage, bare metal. Do I have a laser? I do, yeah. So virtual servers based on KVM, Xen, VMware. We have load balancers, compute, and we have the whole vCloud section here. Go a little bit down, we have DNS. We even got a whole CDN platform built into the platform as well. We have, can I go back, I guess? We have application servers as well here, which is our step into doing more like a PaaS and SaaS story as well. But listen, guys, come by the booth and you can get a demo there. We've got more than 30% market share, which is around 3,000 service providers using our platform. We like to say that if it's not running on Amazon, OnApp is probably sitting somewhere in there. And the coolest thing we've done is, well, we have these 3,000 service providers, and what we've done is we've tied them together into this interconnected pool of infrastructure that enables anyone running OnApp to buy and sell each other's capacity. So if you, sir, have a data center in London, and if you have one in Germany, and if you have a client in Germany coming to you and saying, well, I need infrastructure in London, what you would do yesterday is, the whole colo thing, buying servers, setting it up, having intelligent hands, dealing with all the CapEx around it. Now what you do is you go into the OnApp marketplace and you find his servers in London. You click deploy, and at the moment you click deploy, your clients, the enterprises buying from you, would be able to see not only your local infrastructure in Germany, but also the gentleman's infrastructure in London, sitting side by side inside of the OnApp UI, totally transparent to your client, effectively enabling anyone in this room to be worldwide, to have scale, to be able to participate in any RFP, any request for information that you get from any client anywhere, without CapEx, without any long-term contracts, and without all the pain of having to take risks when rolling out to new countries or new markets. So for example, if you have, this could be your UI that you present to your clients so they can set up virtual machines. You may only have this data center and that data center, and then all the remaining POPs would be powered by the federation. So that's what we do. How many here have seen me talk before? This is my 6th or 7th presentation. One, two, come on. All right, those that have seen me talk before know that I always use an excessive amount of Lego in my presentation, being Danish. I've done that in the past. I also tend to give AWS a really hard time. This presentation is a bit different though. So I'll just get the whole Lego and AWS thing out of the way up front. I still believe that AWS represents the dark side of our industry. If there was a Darth Vader and if he was a hoster, he would work at AWS. And I still believe that us as an industry have just ignored them too long and feel, oh, we'll be fine. It's just a bookshop. I mean, seriously, how hard can it be to beat them? And what happened was they came into our industry sort of overnight and just stole away what is probably the biggest commercial opportunity that we've ever seen, the cloud industry and how it's grown year by year. And we just left it to this bookshop to steal it from us. And I do believe that the OnApp Federation is the answer. I feel that together we can totally beat them up. And hopefully he will go back to running his bookshop. So I won't be talking about that today because I've done that in the last sort of 6 keynotes I've done on this stage. We have a rather ambitious project we've been through. We've asked 55,000 service providers, how was 2015 for you? What worked? What didn't work? What are your biggest concern? And how do you think 2016 will turn out? In fact, we asked like 20, 30 questions, also to underbuild what actually worked for these service providers. What made them grow? The guys that didn't grow, why didn't they grow? What are their concerns for next year? How are they dealing with the Amazon threat? Are they feeling commoditized? How are they keeping on being relevant? And I'm going to share some of the results with you here today. We do believe it's the biggest service provider survey ever made. And I will share the results here. I will share it by consolidating it into a persona, the perfect service provider persona. Let's call him Bill. Hence the title, Be Like Bill. Bill? No, it's not that guy. Or that guy. Or my favorite Bill in the world, this guy. And don't even go there. So, in fact, you probably already know Bill. It's this guy. Have you seen those on the internet? It's been a big crave. My kids show me a new one every day. Bill is on Facebook, but he doesn't tell everyone that he's a vegan on it. He goes to Starbucks without telling everyone how cool his drink is. He likes music, but he makes sure that only he, and so on, and so on, and so on. What you didn't know about Bill is that he also runs a very successful hosting business. Bill is smart. Be like Bill. And what I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes on is telling you how. So first, what did we ask? Well, no, sorry, who did we ask? Well, we asked 55,000 service providers. Around 10% of them were OnApp clients, and the remaining part of them is just service providers we've spoken to, had connection with over the last sort of 2-3 years. And our aim was, as I said, to find out what actually worked for them. And I'm hoping here there will be a few sort of, I hadn't thought about that. Oh, that's a surprise to you. But what we did was we sat around the table. This is the London office in UK, in OnApp. And we sat around a table, start looking at what would we have liked to have known when we got into this industry years ago. What actually works and what doesn't work. And so what we wanted to make sure is that when we start talking about this hosting persona, we only talk about, we sort of make we filter all the replies by the ones that are growing fast. So we started by asking, how was 2015? Can I just ask in this room, in 2015, how many here had good or amazing growth? Raise your hands. Okay, interesting. There's not that many, actually. This is what our results show. That 65% of the people that we asked had good or amazing growth. 29% were static, and 6% actually had more or less a disaster in their business. And when I talk about Bill from here on, I'll be talking about that dude. So I'll be focusing on the guys that grew, and I'll be talking about why they grew and what did they do that you probably, all of you guys that didn't grow, didn't do. So where is Bill? Well, Bill, I have to say first that the 55,000 we asked were based all over the world. It was a fair correlation between how the industry is allocated. And so the fact that he lives in EMEA is not because that most of the people we asked were in EMEA. No, there is actually a fair representation that the hosters that are based in EMEA are doing better than those based outside of EMEA. US being the second, Asia being the third, and South America being the fourth. So how big are they? What size of company are seeing most growth? And the mid-sized national ones, so those that focus on national markets, what we've done in this slide here is actually consolidated a few questions into one. And it shows that the national ones are growing fastest, the international by like 15%, and the smallest, the local ones, by 18%. And who do they sell to? So the 65% successful hosters in the world, who are they selling to? Well, mostly SMEs. 48% of them focus on SMEs, and 22% on SOHO individuals, and another 22% on enterprise, and a little bit of public sector. Again, we've asked 55,000 service providers, so it's a fair representation of the whole industry as such. So what does Bill do? Well, Bill focuses on the market he knows, often local to him. We should be like Bill. So what does he sell? And this was actually quite a surprise to me. The 65% hosters that did very well, I would have guessed that they probably specialize in one specific thing. I would probably say, you know what, because that's what I've been saying that on this stage for like 10 years now. Find what you do best and only do that. As it turned out, the guys that are doing well are selling 7 or more products. 89% of the guys that are doing very well have spread themselves across a whole bunch of products. Now, when we started diving into the replies here, we learned that, yeah, they are selling a lot of products, but they're selling it to the same guys. So these service providers that are doing well are focusing on one client segment, not necessarily one product segment. So they are getting to understand everything there is to know about lawyers in Paris, for example, and then start with selling perhaps public cloud, moving into private, hybrid, VPS, and so on, rather than saying we know everything there is to know about public cloud. They are specifically focusing on client segments rather than product segments. And that was a little bit of a to me, because I had not expected that. So again, Bill focuses on local markets, he focuses on the SMEs, and he focuses on bringing products to the market he knows, rather than products to the markets he doesn't know. This was also a little bit surprising to me. So where is the growth for these guys? Well, there's a lot of VPSs going on. A lot of that was based on OnApp, obviously, but a lot of it was VMware as well. A lot of dedicated servers. Isn't it interesting that everyone has been saying on this stage for the last 10 years that dedicated business is going to die, yet it just keeps on growing? We see that in our client base as well, that the dedicated servers providers are they're making a killing, and everyone is sort of deeming them to die next year because all this cloud stuff is going to take over, but it doesn't happen. They keep on growing. Obviously, managed services, public cloud, DR, backup, as John spoke about before, is a really strong segment. I would have expected private cloud to be placed higher, but it isn't. And I think the whole private cloud, public cloud story is probably sort of being modeled up now. The lines between all the different cloud types are getting smaller and smaller. Now, the interesting part is actually here. What are they going to do next year? So we asked, cool, so the 65% service providers that we have incarnated as Bill here, what did they do this year that did well for them? And what are they going to do next year? And the funny correlation is that all this stuff that didn't work for them is now going to be the key focus for next year. That is a little bit of a, isn't it? What does that tell you? Well, it tells you that the smart service providers reinvent themselves. They say, hey, we're really good at this cloud stuff, and we're making a killing from it, but we can't keep on doing the same stuff. We've got to reinvent ourselves. And what we see opportunities down here, there's good growth numbers, but if we focus totally on it for the next year, we probably have a chance of making that grow because we already solved the problems up here. Whereas dare I say, the irrelevant hoster would just focus on what he knows and what he does best and keep on diving into that product segment, where the smart guys, the guys that are growing, are actually focusing on the stuff they maybe are not doing that well. That is interesting, isn't it? I think it was. I used to run this company, as I said, UK2 Group, a fairly big mass market hoster. We have like 1.2 million clients, around 50 million of revenue. And I took it from 1 million to 50 million. And the way I did that was by forcing through my management team that no one got a bonus, no one had any pat on the shoulders, no one could call themselves a success unless they had a revenue base where 25% of the revenue came from products we didn't have the year before. That's how we grew. And clearly Bill agrees, because this is what these numbers are saying. Got to focus on the products that you don't have, not the ones you have. So Bill grow through new product development, and you guys should be like Bill. Another surprise here. I would have thought with all these products, going back here, with all these different products, you've got to have a huge integration work. You've got to work with all these different platforms. But as it turned out, the 65% hosters that did best have 62% of those 65% have one platform, 27% of them have more than one platform, 2 platforms, and 7 have 3 platforms. And these are sort of the platforms we saw, obviously OnApp, but again, we knew that only around 10% of the people we asked were OnApp clients. OnApp, CloudStack, OpenStack, Virtuoso, VMware, and a lot of great platforms out here. But the smart hosters go with one platform because they understand, and I hate saying that as a platform guy, but the platform is not what's going to fix it for you. You got to find the client segment. You got to focus on. You got to understand the client's requirements, and then go find a platform that works for those requirements. It's not the other way around. The platform is not going to solve your business, but it's going to get you the entry ticket so you can compete and you can do whatever you need to do in order to build the cool stuff on top that works to that specific client segment you're talking to. So, interesting. Who's Bill afraid of? Well, obviously, right? But apart from Uma Thurman, how about this guy? Well, if I was a service provider, I would be really scared of this dude. I think, again, they've sort of sneaked in during the night. And I was wondering at some time in UK too, whether I should start selling books, because clearly that's how it works in the industry. You gotta, but yeah, Bill does care about AWS. But if you remember, Bill is focusing locally. So Bill is actually equally concerned about local competitors. Bill understands that he has a sustainable advantage in understanding the local markets around him. He understands that the local enterprise, the local factory, the local lawyer chain, the local SMEs around his local area, they would probably need a different level of service than Amazon can give them. So while he's concerned about Amazon, he's actually competing with the other guys, whereas he doesn't care much about these guys. There was a mentioning of DigitalOcean here and there as well, but they were way below the 25 and somewhere in the middle of these guys. So Bill cares about AWS, but he's also mostly really concerned about the local competitors he has in his own region. So be like Bill, focus on the customer segments, not the products. Understand that you obviously have to bring new products to market, but do it in relation to what your clients are asking for, not because you really liked new and cool products. Build infrastructure to handle workload, as many different workloads as possible, and try to use one platform. That's really the conclusion of the survey that I can bring here. But we have so much data, and we are happy to share it with you. We are consolidating it into a report, and you can go to our booth and get more information. It's the big white booth in the middle of the main forum in there, the main hall in there. So finishing off here, how does OnApp help with all this stuff? Well, OnApp is this whole wheel of solutions out here. I mentioned the CDN, the storage, the DR, dedicated servers, billing, the reseller portal we have, the marketplaces, and the cloud business, obviously. But the whole point here is that when Bill says that you need one platform to manage the whole thing, I obviously like to see that, because that is exactly what OnApp is. It's one platform that can bring all these products to market. Now, OnApp is not going to make you Bill. But OnApp is going to give you the entry ticket to build cool stuff, like Bill did. And as I mentioned like 20 minutes ago, we think the whole line between the private, the public, what's this hybrid story, we think it's all going to be one big thing now. Workloads don't care where they are sitting, they just want to work. And what OnApp does here is bring you this fluidity of workloads. If you are running in London and in Germany, you have in OnApp the ability to migrate workloads across those two locations. You can do that using the UI. You can do it in a way where your clients wouldn't see downtime. And it gives you full fluidity. I always felt that being a service provider buyer, so someone who is buying infrastructure from a service provider, just sucks. You're served with all these decisions that are all sequential. So let's say I'm an enterprise and I'm coming to you in Germany. Sorry to keep on picking you, but I'm coming to you in Germany, and I'm asking, so I'm being asked by the gentleman in Germany, okay, cool, so what kind of cluster, what kind of server infrastructure are you looking for? How many concurrent users do you have? Well, I've got this many. All right, cool. So where are they based? Well, they're based in Germany. So, okay, cool, we put the infrastructure in Germany. What kind of OS do you prefer? Well, my developers like to develop in this language, so it needs to be here. What kind of virtualization platform, what's a security policy, and blah, blah, blah. Just continues. And all of those decisions are sequential, meaning that once you've said Germany, and then you actually learn the week after that it's going to be in UK instead. The guy in UK will start by asking you exactly the same questions. They're not autonomous decisions, they are sequential decisions, which for a service provider buyer just sucks. Someone who's coming to all of you guys and buying infrastructure, it makes their life really hard. And what we've tried to do in OnApp is have this hybrid on steroids that give service providers full access to worldwide capacity, give full access to scale. So again, if someone comes ask you for 1,000 servers and he's not keen on writing a 3-year contract for those 1,000 servers. A lot of you guys wouldn't like the idea of the CapEx burn of that. What you can do in the OnApp Federation is go out and source those 1,000 servers, because we have more than 100,000 servers sitting there, available all over the world. We have 1,000 virtual machines. You have access to 1,000 virtual machines in the Federation within 30 milliseconds of everyone in the world. If you're in Iceland, you can get 1,000 virtual machines through the Federation. If you're in the middle of Africa, same story, because we have clients everywhere. And so what we've tried to do here is to sort of take away the line between hybrid, public, and private cloud, and actually give the enterprises buying from you a hosted experience no matter where the infrastructure is sitting. So if your clients would prefer to have the infrastructure sitting in their own basement, in their own data centers, the OnApp UI will be front-end to that, as well as the stuff sitting in your data centers, as well as the stuff sitting in Amazon, in Azure, and so on and so on. This is the topology. I don't think I will dive into that here. What I will talk a little bit about is what we announced today with Dell, though. What we've done with Dell is made it super easy for anyone wishing to deploy a public, private, or hybrid cloud to do that really just by deploying a Dell cluster where OnApp come pre-installed now. We are one of 3 platforms that Dell have decided to pre-install from their factories. So basically, you can get it as a whole rack that you roll into your data center, you put in your network cables, and you're up and running, literally instantly. So it makes it really easier for you guys. But another point, and one of the discussions we always have with our service provider clients, is that they're sort of wondering, okay, so how many IOPS do I have available? How many concurrent users can I handle? How many virtual machines per core? What happens to the performance once we put a little bit of strain to it? And that becomes a research project every time. With this infrastructure, it isn't, because we have tested together with Dell in their labs this really, really hard. We've pounded it with everything we had. And we can now tell you exactly how this performs upfront. So you can go to your clients and say, well, we know our infrastructure really well, so we can guarantee certain SLAs in terms of performance and so on. So Dell and OnApp have done that really, really easy, and you can, again, come to our booth if you want to hear it. Or go to the Dell booth, just across ours, and hear more about it. So summing up here, what are we doing in OnApp? Oh my God, a lot of clicks here. So we are trying to really be that abstraction layer between the workloads and the infrastructure that enables you to make, and your clients to make autonomous decisions on workload placement. Some of it sits best in the basement of the enterprises buying from you, and some of it would probably sit better, honestly, some of it might even sit better in AWS. So why don't you give your clients that management level to enable them to not only manage the infrastructure that's sitting with you, but also the infrastructure sitting in the data center of the guy next to you. And that is effectively what we're doing here in OnApp. And then, of course, the whole thing is powered by the almighty OnApp Federation. That was my words. And come by at 5 o'clock. We have beer. And we'll tell you more about the OnApp and Dell story by then as well. I have Q&A, and generally...
Traditionally, that means I join you on stage, sorry, to help handle it.
Yeah, that's fine. Generally, I ask questions, and no one has... If I ask for QAs, no one has any questions, so I tend to bring my own. It makes it easier, right? Which was...
Oh, but no, I think the text there, I think you're actually doing Q&A. Do you want to actually take questions from the audience? Or
I can do that, but I had to actually... Did you guys... Well, guys, you trust me? I really had drawn my own questions, but someone cut them off here. What I would have...
Let's see if we can take one from the audience.
Yeah, is there any questions in the audience?
Do we have a hand up anywhere that we can see? Well, with that in mind, it's a good job you brought your own questions. Yeah. They're just bringing you through to the right place in the presentation.
One thing I didn't say here is obviously...
There we go, you're back on screen. In which case, I'll leave you to it.
There you go. All right. How does Bill feel about 2016? Is my first question to myself. Second one was, is there a difference between the guys running OnApp and not running? Are there more Bills running OnApp than not running OnApp? And then, well, how about like random correlation questions? We asked Bill, for example, how many of you guys would vote for Trump and how many wouldn't? And which one should I take first? I'm not going to take the third one because I have to click a lot of times. And I'll just go through it, guys. How does Bill feel about 2000? Well, actually, Bill feels good. Bill is really excited by the opportunity of 2016. 93% feels that he will continue the same stride as he's had in 2015. The not bills, let's call them Cospies, actually. The Cospies does not feel that. They feel, well, this was a terrible year, and you know what, next year is going to get worse. So there's it's really pluralized. The questions were really much more pluralized than we thought they would be. That the guys that are doing well will continue to do well, the guys that aren't, their life will just get more and more miserable. And then finally, did we see a difference between the ones running OnApp? Honestly, if this had been like 50% difference, I would have brought it into my deck, obviously. But yeah, there was a difference. The ones running, there's 10% more bills within the OnApp segment than outside the OnApp segment. And there's also 10% more optimism within the guys running OnApp and for 2016 than the guys that don't. What else did we find? So we thought it was funny to ask about this story. And hosts who like Trump, how do they feel about the future? It's real numbers. Those that voted for Trump, granted, out of the 55,000, there wasn't that many of them, but they were all super optimistic. If that's because they live in this parallel universe, I don't know, but they are super optimistic, whereas the ones that voted for Clinton were somewhat optimistic, but also pretty concerned. I also asked about the red and blue pill. You guys seen Matrix, right? If they would take the red or the blue pill. And the blue pill, going back to sleep and ignoring the truth, the guys that take the blue pill are obviously not that optimistic, whereas the guy that take the red pill are super optimistic. Now, these were my questions. Anything else? If not, I will say thank you for your time, and thanks for coming and seeing me.